we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So welcome. So glad to have you all with us today. My name is Donna, and I'm one of the educators here at Bywater Solutions. And today is our first 1811 upgrade webinar for admin and reports. So I know it's such an exciting topic. Everyone loves those sorts of things. But there's actually some neat features in this that I think y'all are going to find interesting. So we'll give our typical beginning spiel. So I am here with Kelly and I believe Andrew also.
Yep. Hi, everybody.
Oh, all three of us. Y'all are in serious trouble now. So all three of us are here today. Hopefully between the three of us we'll be able to answer any questions that y'all come up with. Upgrades will be starting in June, and they'll continue throughout the month. As usual, we'll go ahead and populate your staff client about a week prior with your upgrade date, and we'll put it in that little red box so that everyone can see it and kind of have an idea of, when that's happening. And then just remember the next morning you need to go ahead and clear your cache. I'm putting a link into chat right now that is our agenda for today. So what we've done is it's kind of gone through and just said, here's the bugs that we're going to be covering in each of these webinars. So you can kind of just keep track of them if there's anything interesting that you need to make a note of or things like that. And then we also, of course, do have our upgrade webinar schedule, which is you've already seen since you registered for this one. And then there's more coming. So that is in channel also with the upgrade schedule. And then Kelly has been doing an absolutely amazing job keeping us all organized and doing upgrade notes. And so what she's doing is she is posting the recorded webinars and all the Q&As. And what we do with those is when you ask questions either in chat or through Q&A, we do go ahead and record those and share them out with everyone because that is something that other folks are going to be interested in. We don't put your name to it, so don't worry about that. So we're going to go ahead and put that link in chat also. There we go. So all three links there are going to be helpful for y'all. We do have the Q&A and the chat. If you do have a question, we ask that you put it in the Q&A. Just makes it look a little bit cleaner. But if you forget and put it in chat, that's okay. We'll still answer your question. We're not going to ignore you just because you don't put it in the Q&A. And that's what Kelly is going to be doing, is monitoring the Q&A and the chat and making sure that I answer any questions that come in. We, of course, also do have a lot of blog posts that are already posted about the 1811 upgrade, and we do have many more that we are working on also. So they will be coming fast and furious over the next couple of weeks. Okay, so one of the challenges with the admin portion of these upgrade webinars is a lot of it is things that are behind the scenes. In this particular release, there's probably, I would estimate, 70% of the things that are changing in 1811 are behind the scenes. So it's only for those folks who are actually working with the database level, like the developers and like our migration folks and things like that, and the installation process, which again, y'all don't have to deal with. So what we're gonna cover is really just those things that are staff facing. And the challenge with some of those too is that some of these are also not easily demonstrated. So we're going to demonstrate as much as we can and just let you know that those are there, and we're going to try and demonstrate what we can for y'all. So to start with, there is a new system preference. You knew there had to be several coming with every upgrade. So with this one, there is a new system preference for the GDPR. And it adds two preferences, the GDPR policy and then the privacy policy URL. The first system preference allows you to enforce that the patrons consent to your privacy policy before they can use the OPAC as a logged in user. If they don't log in, they can still use the OPAC, but if they do log in, they do have to agree to the privacy policy before they proceed. And then there's also a permissive mode with that, where it shows a warning that we are tracking, which if you've been on any blog site or any website anywhere for the last few months, you've seen that new little post, we use cookies, etc. It's that same sort of idea. It shows a warning that by using the site, you are agreeing to the policy and things like that. And then you do have a second one that lets you add a URL to show the privacy policy that you're referring to. So for instance, here we are in the OPAC, and I can go ahead and search for things, and it's not going to stop me because I'm not logged in. There's no information there. So I can go ahead and do my searches, not a problem. There's my results, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if I do log into my account, okay, you do see that you have a new pop-up box here, and it says, in order to keep you logged in, we need your consent, as specified in the EU GDPR. Please save your consent below now or log out. And it will not let me do anything else in this mode, the enforced mode, without doing one of those two things. And then you can see here that there is the link for the privacy policy. I just went ahead and put in the link to the ALA Privacy Toolkit. But that is, you can create your own privacy policy page. A lot of libraries might already have that online somewhere, and you would just go ahead and put that URL into that privacy policy. But then here, I either have to agree or not agree. And so I'm going to go ahead and agree. It's going to go ahead and save that information for me. And so from now on, when I log in, it's not going to block me. I'm going to be able to go ahead and move forward. Okay. So that's what those two GDPR ones do. And again, in your administration with your system preferences. Oh. I just search for GDPR. Okay. You can see that those do come up. They are under the patron's preferences, under privacy. And so you have GDPR policy, you have enforced, disabled, or permissive. And disabled is going to be the default, and that is the same behavior that you have now for your OPACs. Enforced is what you saw that I just demonstrated, that it requires you to choose yes or no before you move forward. And permissive just gives you a warning, basically saying, hey, be aware of this one. And then again, the privacy policy URL, you can go ahead and put in whatever URL you want there to refer to your local privacy policy.
Donna, we did have a question about altering the message on the consent page. So I'm assuming that maybe means the yellow pop-up box that we saw. I would say that probably it's possible, probably a JavaScript kind of change, but not something that we could do through the staff system preferences, correct?
That is absolutely correct. If you want the wording on that yellow box to be changed, then yeah, let us know. And our amazing guru, Lucas, can go ahead and make those adjustments for you. Okay, or you know, some folks can do their own thing too. So we've got that. So yeah. Okay. So we have trouble here. I see Christopher's here. If a patron accepts the policy today and there's a change to the policy that happens in 3 months, is there a way to make them re-accept it? That's a really good question. My guess would be yes, there would be a way that we could go in there and reset things, because that is going to be saved in a table somewhere. And so in theory, I would think we'd be able to go in there, clear that table out, and force everyone to do it again. So I'm going to go with yes on that one. Just don't make me try to show it today. And then Carolyn wants to know if they have to agree each time they log in. No, once you are logged in and you save your preferences, it goes ahead and keeps that for you. So you can have them just do it once, and that's it. They don't have to do it every single time. Okay. All right. So there is another one that we've talked, another enhancement that we're really excited about, that we've talked about in all the other, in a couple of the other webinars still. And this is basically, it solves the issue of the long-standing credits sort of thing. So what it basically comes down to now is, remember, we had to go ahead and have that button in there as far as being able to apply credits and things like that. So there's now another option. It's a new system preference again, and it's called Reconcile. Okay, and it's Account Auto Reconcile. And so your options are do or do not for your system preferences. And basically what this will do is, if you set this to do reconcile, every time you have a transaction with a patron, it's going to automatically apply any outstanding credits. It will apply credits to the oldest debits first. So the oldest fees and fines will be paid off first with those credits. So basically now you have 3 different ways that you can go ahead and balance out those credits. One is using this auto account reconcile as a system preference. One is asking us to enable a cron job that will do it every day. And the third one is to have that button where you manually apply the credits. So that's a personal decision as far as how your system works. My personal preference is to go ahead and use this auto account reconcile, because then it just automatically does it for me. I don't have to worry about it. But it's your choice how you want to do it. If you do want to change how you want to do it, like if you do want to start a cron or something like that, obviously just go ahead and open up a ticket with us. But this auto accounts, you can just go ahead and set up and be ready to go. The next one is something that was sponsored by Bedford Public Library. Yay, Bedford. And
Donna, we have a question. Quickie. Is there a plan to adjust the apply credits reconciliation to have it only apply to selected debits instead of just the oldest?
If I recall correctly, and that's a big if, Marty, there is a bug that you're supposed to be able to choose which ones it's applied to. Kelly or Andrew, can either of you all back me up on that, or am I completely off the deep end?
I have not heard of a bug, but we can certainly do some research,
okay,
find out, and put this in the question and answer part of it.
There are a lot of bugs for credits, Marty, I know. So that's why I say I may be completely off the deep end. I might be confusing something else. So we will definitely take a look and find out and let you know, okay? Okay. Talking Tech. So for any of y'all that use Talking Tech, there is a new enhancement that if you have a patron who is getting Talking Tech phone calls and has a valid email address, you can go ahead and allow the phone calls to be skipped or turned off. So really what this comes down to is if you have patrons that have both the email and a phone number, you can have your Talking Tech files adjusted so that the phone calls don't go to those folks that have an email address. We know that a lot of folks prefer to get things through email. So you now have the ability to say, okay, they've got an email address, they're not going to get the phone calls through Talking Tech. So that is something that we can set up for that. If you are interested in that, that is a ticket. Go ahead and open it for us, and we can go ahead and adjust those outgoing files to have that enhancement. So it'll skip any folks that have a valid email address. This next one is Shibboleth.
Donna,
yeah.
Can I just interrupt you? There is a bug, and actually it was created by Andrew. So I'm pasting the bug in the channel about what Marty asked.
Okay.
I thought it sounded a little familiar, but
Andrew states with the
Andrew is a frequent bug filer, so we excuse him if he doesn't remember when he files a bug.
So it is there. So it's out there. Make a comment if you want, Marty, that that helps move it along.
And this is a good point for anyone that, if that is something that you are interested in, please go ahead and comment. Bugzilla is not just meant for developers and Andrew. This is meant for everybody. So if there's something that's going to help your workflow, it's going to help your library, just go ahead and log in there and say, this is something we really need. It doesn't have to be coding. It can just be very basic. Please help us get this done, sort of thing. So that really does carry a lot of weight. The more folks that are actually using Koha that want these enhancements or fixes, it goes a very long way. So don't be afraid to comment. It's a really nice community.
Donna, one more thing. We have not said this in any webinar, so the people that are here today will have all the knowledge. But 1811's release included 16 features, 235 enhancements, and 432 bug fixes. So file the bugs, make it happen.
Yeah. And 37 new system preferences, I think. No, I'm kidding. Probably not far off, but yeah. So, but yeah, and that's the thing is that, 1811 is a huge push forward. There is not anything that is significant workflow changes, which we're always relieved about. Just a lot of nice little enhancements and fixes as we go through, which you've probably seen from the other webinars as we've been doing those. So yeah, would you put those in chat, Kelly? Because that's great.
Sure will.
Okay. So anyone that is using Shibboleth, if you use Shibboleth for patron authentication, it is now available through the staff client too. which is probably going to confuse some of y'all because Bywater has had that available for the staff client for quite some time. So that code has now been pushed into the general community code also. But there is also an enhancement that will permit updating of Koha user records with data sent via Shibboleth. So you can go ahead and do those patron imports with additional information. We do suggest, 27 system preferences, I wasn't far off. We do suggest you open a ticket with that so that we can go ahead and work with you to make sure we get the right data being passed back and forth. So just be aware, if you use Shibboleth, there's some new features in there, let us know and we can definitely work with you to get those set up. Okay. My goodness, you look at those numbers, Kelly, and that's just incredible.
I know. And that's just 18.11.0. That doesn't include the last 5, PostScript updates.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that when y'all come up, when we bring everyone up, we'll be bringing them up on 18.05.06, I believe.
Well, let's start with 18.11.05.
That's what I meant. We're moving y'all backward. No. So 18.11.0, it's either 05 or 06, which so there's multiple releases again that continues to fix things and make things better. So really exciting and definitely taking that, that huge push forward and continuing to gather momentum. So a lot of fun. Okay, reports. So this is one that's kind of neat. You now have the ability to create charts for your SQL reports. There was some discussions about this in the What's New webinars that we had, and people offered some really great suggestions, which we have included on our upgrade notes. So I'm just going to show you this one really quickly. Let's see, it is report number 81. Probably the hardest part of this, quite frankly, is thinking how you want your report laid out so that it'll make a good chart. So that's just something to kind of be aware of. We're going to go with 2018 for our CERT report here. There is also an awesome blog post that Kelly and Jay-Z did on this one. So definitely take a look at that. So I went ahead and just did a very basic report on circulation statistics. And you'll see there is a new button here, Create Chart. Go ahead and create chart, and then you have your options of pie, bar, or line, depending on what makes sense for the data that you have. Since I'm pulling multiple data points, I'm going to go ahead and do a bar chart. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on Draw. And so here you go. We've got a nice, pretty chart that when I do hover, it shows me the information for each of the months, things like that. And I do have my chart down here also. Okay. So again, excellent chart on that one, or excellent blog post on that one. There is also another new enhancement in reports that makes my life a lot easier because I am not SQL fluent. I fumble my way through it, and I'm okay with that. But when you are now in your SQL, in your editing comments, it uses Code Mirror. So it will go ahead and show you in different colors and line numbers what you're doing. So making it as kind of as big as I can get it here. So you can see here that we've got the purple as far as the action statements sort of thing. You've got the blue as far as the tables, stuff like that, the reds. So it does make it a whole lot easier to figure out what you're doing. There is also the greens in here. So the colors can be a little bit difficult depending on your display. But honestly, even for me, it's just more like having that line number because I often get that yellow box that says error at line 7. Now I know exactly where I go. Yeah, Marty, it's great for troubleshooting broken reports. So now I know exactly where I need to go ahead and see where I have to fix it. So neat little feature, again, not earth-shattering, but it sure does help when you're working with reports and trying to figure out what exactly you need to do. And it helps in the understanding of the reports too. So I do like that one. Okay, let's go ahead and hop over to notices. So under Tools, you go ahead and take a look at Notices and Slips. Okay. We do have the search box at the top of the screen now so that you can go ahead and type in a couple of characters and it will go ahead and filter your results to finding just those things. So for those libraries that have a whole lot of notices, it makes it a little bit faster to go ahead and figure out what that is. So instead of having to scroll down to your overdue notices, I can just type, oops, to spell it right. I can just type ODU, and it's going to go ahead and pull all of those overdue notices for me, so I can go ahead and see all of those notices there. So again, little enhancements makes it a whole lot easier. You do have the ability, this feature came in 1805, and it's being added as many places as they can throughout Koha, where you are able to go ahead and do a one-time column visibility change, where you can download to Excel, to CSV, that you can copy this or you can print this out. Those function buttons you're going to see as many places as they can get them as they're continuing to develop Koha. So the print feature can be kind of helpful too, because you can go ahead and just print this out and see all of those ones that are available. Doesn't actually print the notices, but it'll at least print you the list of them, so you can go ahead and check through those. So be on the lookout for those buttons on a lot of the different function pages in Koha. So the other change in here, which we've talked a little bit about in some of our different things, is the template toolkit is being used more and more. So for right now, most of our notices are done in what we call the hungry alligators, where you have the brackets. And of course, you have to do that when you're talking about it. Where you have the brackets that are containing that information as far as, you know, what gets filled in. The checkout and the check-in notices have both been changed so that they are using the template toolkit right now. So those two notices have been changed. And then more and more are coming. I'm going to go ahead and paste a Koha wiki link into channel. It's a really great resource on Template Toolkit if you're not familiar with what Template Toolkit is, and this will show you the notices that are using Template Toolkit. But basically the difference is if you see any of the notices that have the square brackets and the % signs, that's something that's done in Template Toolkit. The reason this change is happening is because it gives us a lot more flexibility to change and include different information in there. So just kind of be aware of that one.
Donna, we had a question, and as you were talking, I didn't want to interrupt, but I tested it on our site. We were asked if there was column configurations for this actual screen that you're on, and there are. Yes. So they are under the column configuration for tools itself. So you do have that ability.
And that is something that I encourage everyone to kind of take a look at on a fairly, every time you get an upgrade, I would say go ahead and take a look. Because this configure columns under administration, more and more things are being put in there, and so you really have a lot of flexibility as far as controlling what columns are shown in your different sections. So under our notices, we can go ahead and say, you know, what do I want showing, what don't I want showing in those categories. And so I know we've talked about this in some of our other webinars too, but a lot more things are being put under that configure columns control, which makes it really nice to be able to set it permanently for those sorts of things. Okay, and yet another system preference. So this one is for those of y'all that use the SMS email services. And what it is you can now have, there's been another line added. There is now email SMS sender driver from address. And really what this does is it overrides your from address with a specific address. So if you want your SMS messages to show that they're coming from a different email address than what you send most of your notices through, you do have the ability to go ahead and set a separate email address as far as this is where our SMS messages are coming from. Okay. All right. Now another of everyone's favorites is our Cert Rules. I know we all love going in here and looking at this really gigantic screen. I will tell you, this is being completely redone also. So instead of it being a horizontal spread, things are going to be nested and they're going to be down. So it will make things a little bit easier when you are working with your Cert and Find rules. I don't know when that's going to be actually pushed, but I know it is being worked on. So yay. Okay, so you can now add descriptive notes to your Cert and Find rules. So you can see here that there's a new column called Note, and that there are a couple of notes that are showing here. These are not actually clickable, they're just mouse overs, but when I hover over that, it goes ahead and gives me that pop-up. It will take up to 100 characters, but you can kind of put a note in here about why that rule is the way it is. So there are things, you know, that for instance, if you have a really unusual Cert rule or one off sort of thing, you can go ahead and put those notes in there and say, you know, this is what this is, or this is what this is for, stuff like that. So that you would go ahead and edit just like you will everything else in here. You click on edit, and then you can see you've got that box right there. It does shut you down at 100 characters. You can keep typing and it's not going to take them. It will also carry over if you clone your rules. So again, just a neat little function to be able to go ahead and kind of add some comments about your Cert rules and why they are the way that they are. Okay. There's also a new permission called Manage Cert Rules from Any Libraries. So for those of you that have multiple libraries with multiple sets of circulation rules, this system preference will help you determine whether or not users can only edit the circulation rules for their own library, or if they can edit them for everyone. So again, this might be something that's really helpful, maybe not for super librarians that have to edit everyone's, but perhaps for, you know, the people that are in charge of circulation at that particular library, they can be limited to only editing their own rules. So that'll be really helpful too, as far as making sure that everyone keeps their rules what they need to be and don't accidentally change someone else's. Okay. Tools. So inventory. I know we all do inventory on a regular basis. That usually gets quite a laugh when we're in training sessions. Okay, let's see. Is editing limited to editing the rules at the library you're logged in at or the user's home library? It goes to the user's home library. And the system preference is actually called Manage Cert Rules from Any Libraries. And actually, I take that back. It's not a system preference, it's a permission. Sorry. Probably just confused everyone, but it is a permission, not a system preference. Okay. And then does check in, check out, switch to template toolkit refer only to new, created, or existing? It's only going to be for the new ones. So for any of y'all that have that already, we could go ahead and update your check in, check out notices to the template toolkit one, but it's not going to go back and change the ones that are already in there.
What's nice, you know, we talk about template toolkit. You can do both template toolkit and the hungry alligators, and you can't see me because Zoom doesn't let me turn my camera on, but I am doing this just for you, Donna.
So yeah, you can actually have a mix of notices, and some of those are like that. So yeah, and I'm not going to go down that road, so we'll just leave that one there. But yeah, so Joe, if you do want those changed, you can let us know, and we can go ahead and work with you to go ahead and get those updated. Okay, so inventory, we have a few new options in here. Again, this is not something that's very easy to kind of show y'all, but just want to kind of let you know that you do have some different options. One is you do have the ability to look for items that are scanned out of order. So when you go ahead and do the inventory and select compare barcodes to the list results, you get a list that includes things such as missing, which we're used to. There'll now be one that's called found in the wrong place, which means the item is in the generated list, but not in the barcode file that you updated. There's still checked out and doesn't automatically get checked in. Barcode's not found, or the item withdrawn. Things like that. So you'll see all of those, and there's the column called problems that you'll be able to see what's wrong with those. We have a blog post coming on this soon that'll actually show you in real time as we're doing it, things like that. So that one may sound a little confusing right now, but the bottom line is there's a lot more options that will make inventory even more helpful for you as far as being aware of those sorts of things. There is also another option that will skip. We've had that skip items on loan. You can now also skip items on hold awaiting pickup. So those items won't be triggered as you know, missing or anything like that. Those will be pulled out. So just kind of be aware of that one. Okay. All right. So inventory. And then one other little bug fix, again, minor, but we're really excited about getting this bug finally fixed. If you import patrons, you used to not be able to overlay patrons when you matched by card number. You had to match by user ID. that has now been fixed, and so you can, when you're importing patrons, you can match an overlay based on either barcode or username. So a lot of options, or that's been fixed, so you can do it whichever way you are more comfortable with for that. Okay. There have been a lot of changes to the permissions panel. This has been very much needed because, you know, it's just gotten to the point where there is, you know, there are so many things that are happening. You need to be able to control things a little bit more. And one of the big parts on this is for administration module. Because in the past, the admin module only allowed 2 permissions, which was manage Cert Rules and everything else. And those everything else covers a lot of information. So now what has happened is they have broken those all out. So under permissions, manage Koha system settings, administration panel. When we pop this out, you can see there's a lot of them. So that is going to be really helpful as far as being able to give people specific permissions for what's going to really work with their responsibilities. So for instance, you could give perhaps your head of circulation the ability to manage the circulation rules, but also manage the authorized value categories and things like that, or the classification, or the cities and towns. So you can really break those down a lot. So almost everything under administration has now been broken out into a granular permission that you can really customize and allow folks to be able to see what they need to be able to do and control who can do everything or not. With things like that. So again, you can see that there's a lot in here. Like you'd probably want to give your Z3950 configurations to your catalogers, but maybe no one else needs that. Things like that. So again, a really neat addition to be able to go ahead and break those down in there. Okay. The next one is, again, not one that we can necessarily show, but it is, again, a system preference. Let me go ahead and bring this up. Most of y'all probably have this one turned off. It's called Track Last Patron Activity. It used to be a huge performance killer, and so we had everyone turn that off. We are now saying turn that back on, and what it will do is it'll track the last time a patron connects. So it doesn't necessarily say this is what they were doing, it just says this patron logged in today. It only tracks them the first time they log in for that day. So if they log in 5 different times, it only marks the first time that they logged in. The reason this is really important is for all of you folks that have patrons that only use like electronic resources that are never actually in checking books out or things like that. So your heavy overdrive users, folks like that, we would often have the conversation of, this patron's card expired and we went ahead and deleted them because they never used the library, but now the patron's upset because all their overdrive stuff is gone because we didn't know they used the library. This will solve that problem. As long as your overdrive or whatever you're using does the SIP authentication and passes that information back, it will go ahead and register that as a connect and update that that patron was seen because they logged into your overdrive client or whatever that might be. So huge enhancement for libraries that have a lot of electronic only users that track last patron activity system preference. Go ahead and set that to on. And then likewise, our amazing Andrew went ahead and created some reports that we can go ahead and share with you so that you can go ahead and add those to your site and really see when those patrons are coming in and using the collection and things like that. So
the report that Andrew, the one report that Andrew created is already in our questions and answers section on our website.
Okay. And did he create it and train too?
He did.
Let's see.
I don't know the number. Just go to the, yeah.
Patron last activity. And then we also have patrons with last activity more than a month ago. So I'm going to go ahead and run just this last one, patrons last activity.
Now, we were not tracking last patron before, what was it, 9:21 Pacific Coast time?
Yep.
We turn it on, and then we can track it. So once you have it turned on, then it will start tracking that.
Yeah. So you can see we've got lots of patrons that have absolutely no activity in there, even though we use them on a regular basis. So once we turn that on today, it does go ahead and show those. So that can be really helpful as far as that patron last activity. So go ahead and turn that on. Again, I think it's going to be really helpful as far as being able to see what's happening with your patron usage. Okay. A few, no, Marty, it's not just when they log into the OPAC, it actually will track them when they connect via SIP connections. So that's what really makes this so exciting, is that it will connect, it will update when they connect via SIP devices. Okay, I wish we had a video camera with Marty right now, because she said, sorry if you already said this, I was visited by a puppet and got distracted. And then Nichols asks, will it update when you check something out to them as well? Yes, it will. Okay. I don't believe the reports will be pushed with the updates.
No, that's why we added that SQL to the Q&A page. I'll post that again in the chat box. But any reports that we show or talk about during our webinars, you can certainly put onto your Koha site once you go live, or even now and have it ready for when you go live.
Okay, awesome. Okay, a few changes in the staff client. So before, when you would click on the help button here in the top right-hand corner, it would open a pop-up box. That has now changed, and what it will do is it'll open directly a new tab to take you straight into the manual from where you were. And so that's going to be, again, a bit, you know, it's going to take you directly into that site to go ahead and get that help that you need. So it is a new window now, instead of having that little pop-up box. So Matt, what you are seeing is that you do not have that system preference turned on. So you'll want to make sure that you go ahead and turn that system preference on, and then it will start populating as your patrons use the OPAC and Overdrive and all of those sorts of things. But if you see all of those zeros, that means you're not tracking it. And so make sure you go ahead and turn that on, and then those numbers will start populating. Okay. So this one, I don't know. So there's an update to printing a sorted cart. And so what's really neat with this is that there used to be, you didn't used to have a lot of flexibility when you were doing carts and being able to, you know, print them and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just select a whole bunch of items and add them to my cart. And if you haven't seen this yet, instead of having to do a double click to get into your cart, it's a single click to go ahead and pop up your cart box. Because before, what would happen is it would go ahead and say, you have this, you click on cart, says you have this many items, and you again get in there. So for this one now, it goes ahead and just opens that straight in here. But what you can do now is that you can go ahead and sort the titles. The challenge with this is it doesn't really indicate that it's sortable, because again, we're used to seeing either those carets or that a blue link or anything like that. But as I click on title, you can see it is sorting it reverse alphabetical or not. I can sort by item type. I can sort by items. That is the one that does have a pop-up on it, and it's sorted by call number. Okay. And then you do have the ability to go ahead and when you print, it will go ahead and keep that format too. So little thing, not sure how often folks use those carts, but you do have a little bit more flexibility now as far as being able to sort those. And it does do that in the OPAC also. And in the OPAC, you can sort by title, by author, and year. Okay. Location is not sortable in the OPAC, unfortunately. So just kind of be aware of that one. Okay. Okay, another one which I kind of like is you can now see the number of items that you have for something. So if I look for Jazz by Ken Burns, it'll now show me my holdings numbers right here. So I can immediately see how many there are on that. In the OPAC, you have to be logged in to see it, but it will also show it to you if you are logged in. So it's very quickly that you're able to go ahead and see how many items are there. And this is where I find it really helpful too, is that you can see not only, if you have it set up that it's showing multiple locations, so highlighting your holdings, then also showing other holdings, you can quickly see how many available where. So again, kind of a neat little thing that just makes life a little bit easier when you're doing things like that. Okay. Z3950 enhancement. So when you are doing either new via Z3950 or replace via Z3950, it automatically focuses on the ISBN field. So you can see that that field is highlighted, and so it's going to automatically highlight that field when you're in there. So, some folks like it, some folks don't, but it does go ahead and just highlight right away to that ISBN field, which will give you a really good search result. So just kind of be aware of that one. So. Oh, Neckles likes that. I figured a lot of catalogers would, just because that ISBN is usually right there, and you get a really good search result with that one. So Marty likes it too. All right, see, it's these little things that make us happy, right? Doesn't have to be massive functionality changes, just these little ones that save us clicks is really what we're looking for. So the last two that I have to talk to y'all about are really more for those of you that like to push the envelope. And try things out. So there are two new API enhancements. And these are adding a route to get the patron's account balance and to add credits to a patron's account. So basically what this does is it introduces API endpoints for dealing with patron accounts, which apparently is requested a lot for third-party integrations. So just be aware that that is out there. Those of you that know what it is, we'll know what that means. For the rest of us, we just kind of smile and nod and say, oh, that sounds good. There's another one, though, too, that's really got a lot of potential, and folks get really excited when they're talking about this one. There's another enhancement that adds API routes through plugins, and it allows the extension of the Koha APIs through plugins, which basically leads to permitting custom vendor integrations and prototyping of new things. So that's really for those folks that want to try new things. These API changes are going to make it a lot easier to be able to do some different things and see where we can go with them. So that's kind of the rundown on the API sorts of things. So again, something our developers are really excited about as far as being given more flexibility and more ability to do things and integrate with other sites. So just kind of be aware of those too. So I'm looking at the chat that Kelly and Andrew had going on during our webinar about the GDPR. So Matt, more information on the APIs. If you go ahead and take a look at the agenda, those last 3 bugs are linked on there, and that's where it's going to go ahead and give you that whole background on all of those. And if you have other questions, just open up a ticket and say, hey, can I talk to someone about APIs? And we'll get you connected with someone who can actually talk APIs, which would totally not be me.
I think you're doing fabulous, Donna.
So, okay, so looking at Andrew and Kelly's chats, it looks like the GDPR, so the privacy thing that we started with, goes into the patron consent table, which libraries cannot edit. So what we can do is, that's what I thought, Christopher, is that we would need to go ahead and wipe out that table to make people re-opt in, okay? So we could clear that database, and then if your privacy policy changes, they would have to go ahead and opt in the next time that they log in. Okay. So, all right, so what other questions? Yeah, it sounds like an opportunity for an enhancement, absolutely. So what other questions do y'all have about anything in admin and reports? Is there anything that you want me to show you again, or questions that you have about this category?
Donna, as much as you said that it was all very back end, I think that you demonstrated it very well. And you spoke to the needs of the people in the room.
Oh, are you sweet?
Marty says here. So.
Well, I'll chatter as y'all are typing in any last questions. Again, we do have more webinars coming up.
I'll post that in chat again, Matt, from Mercyhurst. And then we had a question about the schema. Do you show them the new schema page, Donna?
I can do that. So the schema has changed. We all had mixed feelings about it. The only thing that's really changed is the look. So you can see that this is a very different look than what we were looking at before with the schema. Yeah. It took me a little while to get used to it, but I actually am kind of coming around to it. A little bit easier to look at. You do have search functions and things like that, so it does make it, yeah, Marty, I agree. The search option is so incredible. Instead of scrolling through page after page after page, oh, Nichols says no. It does go ahead and let you search that instead. There you go. Just keep it hidden from them and it doesn't matter.
I mean, there have been more tables, Joe, as well, but I don't know if we could tell you all the changes.
Probably not. Yeah. Let me see if we can find this one that we're talking about with patron consent.
The stock rotation got a few tables.
So again, you can see I just go ahead and type it in. It's going to go ahead and bring that up. It'll give me that link into that table. Shows me all of my information as far as what can go in there, the size, if it's automatic, who the parents are, all of those sorts of things. Gives you the indexes, and then it gives you the relationships. This is kind of a neat one. We started joking about, instead of playing 7 degrees of separation with Kevin Bacon, we can play 2 degrees of separation with our tables, because it does show you the 1 degree of separation and then those that are 2 degrees of separation. So it just really kind of helps you taking a look a little bit better as far as how things interrelate. Does it work on the fields? Let's find out.
I don't believe it does, but you can always make Google do it for you if you do a Google search constrained to this site.
Yeah, but I guess if you just knew the field and you didn't know what table it was in, it would be hard.
No, it's not going to. Yeah. So yeah, you would definitely need to know the table that it was going to be in. Yeah, so the schema is definitely a little bit different look. And for those of you that maybe haven't seen the old schema, shame on you, because even if you don't write tables, it's still interesting to look at. So you need to at least take a peek. This is what it used to look like. And so it was a little bit more difficult to deal with, lots and lots of scrolling, things like that. But the new schema is much easier to work with, and it does have that search, which helps a lot. Like if I know that something is going to be in the item table, I just don't know whether I need to use that S or not for the field name. It's a lot easier for me to get in here and kind of take a look and see all of those. All right, excellent. Other questions?
I'd like to thank the several people who have, during this webinar, commented on that bug that I filed that Donna linked earlier. Nice. Blowing up with people leaving comments over there.
Wow.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. Please comment.
We should put more bugs in channel as we talk. I mean, in comments as we talk.
But yeah, and it's those of y'all that have done it, it's very, very easy to do. You just sign up and then you just add your comments, and really just to even yeah, this is really great, or this is really needed is incredibly helpful when they're deciding what to work on and where to go in the next direction. So cool. And you know what? I presume that's George from Nichols. But that's the thing, is that he'll say, I'll comment on anything, even if I think it's a bad idea. Hi, George. You know what? And that's not a bad thing. If you think it is a terrible idea, comment on it, because that's one of the things that we've actually had some conversations with our developers on, is saying, yo, Nick, what are you doing? That's really not going to help us, sort of thing. So go ahead and add those comments if it's a terrible idea. You know, it's a great place to go ahead and have those conversations of, this is why I think it's a terrible idea. And that helps people think a little bit differently of, oh, I didn't think about that consequence. What if we do this instead? So it really does open the door to more conversations. So I tell developers from time to time that, no, don't do that, please, because it really does just kind of take things in the wrong direction. So do go ahead and make those comments, whether they're positive or negative. They're all helpful. Joe's asking what type of reports will need to be rewritten. I don't think there's any that would need to be changed.
No, I don't think so.
I haven't run into anything. Let us check with, we've got a person in our migration team who's sort of in charge of keeping an eye on what's changing in the database. Okay, we can double check with her, but I don't think there's anything that's going to really impact existing reports.
Mm-hmm.
So really it would come down to more if it is going to be a new report that you want for patron consent or anything like that. But I don't believe there's any database changes as far as existing reports, but we will definitely double check for you. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We have, again, more webinars coming up. Please go ahead and drop into those as needed. Go ahead and take a look at those URLs, too, that we have on our website as far as being able to access these recorded webinars, all those sorts of things. As usual, if no one was able to watch us, go ahead and share the links with them. Or if you just really want to have some more entertainment, go ahead and watch these videos again, these webinars again. And as always, please let us know if you have any questions. We love being able to answer your questions and help you out. So please don't ever hesitate to open a ticket or whatever it may take. We love learning too, which is why we do what we do. So give us the chance to go ahead and figure those things out. We love good reference questions. So.
Donna?
Yes, ma'am.
A partner I talked to the other day said that our upgrade webinars replaces her Netflix evenings, and she watches our upgrade webinars at nights. I'm hoping with like a bowl of popcorn or something, but she said that she doesn't watch Netflix the entire time we're doing upgrade webinars because she's watching us. So I thought that was a nice compliment.
That really is. That really is. You know what? Maybe we should kind of do that. Next time we do the webinars, we'll do it.
Somebody said that's sad. No.
Well, maybe we should all do it with popcorn and wine and see how they go. It was probably your webinar, Kelly, because you are really, really funny. So.
Well, her name is Kelly, so maybe it's because her name and my name go together. That's
there you go. All right.
Thank you. Good job, Donna.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day, and we love working with each and every one of y'all. So let us know how we can help.